The paradox of the unfinished ape. Look at the raw, untamed power of the natural world, and you will see a symphony of readiness. A wildebeest calf is dropped onto the African savanna, and within minutes, its spindly legs find their strength. It runs because to not run is to be torn apart by lions. A shark enters the world not from an egg, but as a live, miniature predator, a perfect killing machine from its first breath. A sea turtle hatches from its sandy nest, and an ancient, unbreakable algorithm fires in its tiny brain, guiding it on a desperate crawl towards the safety of the ocean. They are born prepared. They are born complete. They are born knowing their purpose. Now look at a human baby. It is a masterpiece of helplessness, a case study in biological absurdity. It cannot walk. It cannot feed itself. It cannot even regulate its own body temperature with any real efficiency. Its skull is not yet fused. Its immune system is a blank slate. Its mind is a quiet storm of potential, but with no map, no compass. It is, for all intents and purposes, a premature fetus, ejected from the womb into a world it is utterly, laughably unequipped to handle. For years, it will remain a fragile burden, a black hole of need, demanding constant vigilance, protection, and an impossible amount of resources. From a cold, logical, evolutionary perspective, this seems like a catastrophic flaw, a terrible miscalculation. A strategy designed for certain extinction. But what if it wasn't a mistake? What if this profound physical weakness was not a flaw but a feature? What if our unique helplessness was the single greatest, most audacious gamble evolution ever took? And what if that gamble paid off and gave us the entire world? A dangerous birth. To understand our inherent weakness, we must first understand a deep evolutionary conflict, a biological crisis point. It is called the obstetrical dilemma. As our ancient hominin ancestors evolved, two opposing pressures were at war within the very architecture of our bodies. First, the relentless pressure for larger brains. Intelligence was our niche. Our ability to think, to plan, to communicate was our only real weapon in a world of fangs and claws. And a bigger brain requires a bigger cranium. Second, the structural pressure of bipedalism. As we evolved to walk upright, our entire pelvic structure had to be re-engineered. To walk and run efficiently over long distances, the pelvis had to become narrower, more compact, creating a smaller birth canal. This was an evolutionary traffic jam of the most dangerous kind. A bigger head had to fit through a smaller opening. For countless generations, birth became a life-or-death crisis for both mother and child, a risk unique in its difficulty among all primates. The solution nature arrived at was not elegant. It was a radical, desperate compromise. Don't wait for the brain to be finished. Give birth outrageously early. Push the infant out into the world when its skull is still small and malleable enough to squeeze through the narrow gate of the pelvis. Let the vast majority of its complex brain development happen outside the womb, exposed to the chaos and dangers of the world. We are the ape that is born unfinished. We are the ape that must be built, not just born. A burden on the tribe. This solution created what seems like a cascade of crippling disadvantages. The cost was immense. For the infant, it meant years of absolute dependence. It could not cling to its mother's fur like a baby chimpanzee. It was a squirming, crying beacon for every predator in the landscape. For the mother, it was a profound, life-altering encumbrance. She was now tethered to a helpless being. She could not hunt or forage with the same efficiency. She was more vulnerable, more exposed. This period, sometimes called the fourth trimester, meant the work of the womb had to be continued externally, with constant warmth, feeding, and protection. And for the group, it was an enormous energetic sinkhole. The growing human brain is the most energy-hungry organ known to biology, consuming up to 60% of an infant's caloric intake. The entire band had to invest a staggering amount of time, food, and vigilance into these tiny, demanding creatures for more than a decade before they could provide any return on that investment. It seems like a terrible, inefficient strategy, a recipe for failure. So why did we, the weakest and most burdensome of all apes, thrive while our stronger, more robust cousins like the Neanderthals vanished? Because the gamble was not on the strength of the body, it was on the plasticity of the brain. The gamble pays off, the plastic brain. The secret lies in the profound opportunity hidden within our weakness. Because our brain is not fully formed at birth, it develops in a constant, dynamic conversation with the world it is born into. It is not hardwired from the factory with a fixed set of instincts. It is a machine designed for learning. It is profoundly plastic, capable of being shaped and molded. Think of it as nature's ultimate learning algorithm. A young horse is born with its software pre-installed. It knows how to be a horse. A human infant is born with a powerful but largely empty operating system. The apps, language, social rules, survival skills, beliefs, must be downloaded from its culture. The brain of an infant doesn't just grow, it is sculpted. It wires itself to the specific language it hears, the social structures it observes, the environment it touches. It learns to survive not just on the African savanna, but in the frozen Arctic, the dense Amazon, or the canyons of modern-day Tokyo. This extended period of helplessness created a new revolutionary phase of life, one that is almost uniquely human in its duration and importance: childhood. Childhood is not just a waiting period until the body gets bigger. It is the dedicated programming phase for the most sophisticated and adaptable computer on the planet. And this single biological fact has 3 world-altering consequences. Consequence 1: the birth of culture as a womb. If an infant is not born with the knowledge it needs to survive, that knowledge must be transmitted. This puts immense evolutionary pressure on the ability to teach and the ability to learn. It requires a complex language, not just to warn of danger, but to explain abstract concepts, to demonstrate intricate tasks, to tell stories that carry lessons and values. Many animals can show their young how to do things, but human teaching is intentional, symbolic, and cumulative. We can tell a child, "Don't eat those red berries, they will make you sick tomorrow," conveying a lesson about cause and effect over time. Culture ceases to be an optional extra. It becomes our external womb. It is the environment in which our minds grow to completion. We created a second inheritance system where knowledge is passed down not through genes but through minds. This allowed us to adapt and innovate thousands of times faster than biological evolution ever could. Consequence 2: the forging of the human family. This strategy had another profound social consequence. It created us. A single hunter-gatherer mother, encumbered by a helpless infant for years, could not possibly survive alone. It is an energetic and logistical impossibility. This desperate need created the complex social structures that define humanity. It demanded allo-parenting, care from individuals other than the mother. It put immense pressure on fathers to stick around, to provide food and protection, forging the long-term pair bonds that are so rare in the primate world. It gave a new vital role to elders. This is the foundation of the grandmother hypothesis, the theory that human females evolved to live long past menopause, a biological rarity, because grandmothers who helped care for their grandchildren were so crucial. By helping her daughter, a grandmother ensured her own genetic legacy could continue more effectively. Our long lifespans may be a direct result of our baby's helplessness. Aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, the entire group was now conscripted into the multi-year project of raising a single child. Our weakness is what forced us to become so deeply, radically social. It is the biological imperative behind the phrase, "It takes a village to raise a child." Consequence 3: strengthen perpetual childhood. There is a third consequence, one that lasts our entire lives. The biological concept of neoteny, the retention of juvenile or childlike features into adulthood. Physically, we are underdeveloped apes. Our skulls are shaped more like a juvenile chimp's than an adult's. Our faces are flatter, our bodies less covered in hair. But the most important juvenile trait we retain is behavioral, our boundless curiosity. An adult chimpanzee is largely set in its ways, its behaviors fixed. An adult human retains a childlike capacity for learning, for play, for wonder. We can learn a new language, master quantum physics, or decide to become a painter at age 70. By staying young at a biological level, we stay mentally flexible. We avoid the cognitive rigidity that comes with full, hardwired maturity. Our unfinished state at birth translates into a lifelong ability to adapt. The Weakling's Gambit. This is the great, stunning paradox of our survival. Our catalog of physical weaknesses is the very source of our world-dominating strength. Our lack of natural weapons, claws, fangs, venom, forced us to invent them, from the first sharpened stone to the nuclear warhead. Our thin, fragile skin forced us to master fire, to sew clothing, and to build shelters that could protect us from the elements. And most profoundly, our helpless, unfinished infancy forced us to create complex families, deep social bonds, and a culture so powerful it has become the dominant geological force on the planet. We survived not because we were strong, but because our weakness forced us to become clever. cooperative, and endlessly adaptable. What began as a dangerous biological compromise to solve a problem of childbirth became the engine of our global conquest. It was evolution's greatest, most counterintuitive gamble. And looking around at our world of cities and satellites, it is clear that gamble paid off. So the next time you feel fragile or vulnerable or unprepared for the world, remember that this feeling is your oldest, most powerful inheritance. It is the echo of the great paradox that made us who we are. The human story is not one of descending from perfection, but of ascending from utter helplessness. We are not a fallen angel. We are an ape that learned to fly because it was born with no wings. Subscribe to Epic Echoes, where the greatest strengths are found in the most unexpected places.